Hi! Welcome back to the Trust Your Worth podcast, the podcast that helps you tap into the power of knowing your worth. My name is Brittany, and thank you so much for joining me today. How are you? What's going on? I hope you're doing fabulous. Last week I talked about loneliness and how it can be super hard. Also, how you can overcome loneliness by connecting. So if you want to know more about that, check out last week's episode, season 3, episode 14. Today, we are talking about decentering romantic relationships because society has told us that the romantic relationship is the best relationship, the only relationship that matters. But is it? So let's talk about it on today's episode. If you grew up in the 90s, like I did, I am an elder millennial, so I was a toddler in the early 90s, and Disney was my life. I almost said Ariel. There was Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, like Aladdin came out. I remember Pocahontas coming out and seeing that in theaters. All these wonderful Disney movies, but a lot of them, especially the princess ones, as we know, perpetuated the societal idea that there is a man who will come and save me one day. Like, I grew up thinking, like, this was my life plan growing up. Go to college, graduate when I'm 18, 19, 22, graduate when I'm 21, get married, have children, and just be happy with my family, and I'll be super happy at home raising kids, and my husband goes to work. That did not happen. I remember my mom being like, you're not allowed to get married until you're 24. And I was like, 24? But what if I love him? And not to say that there is a disadvantage or advantage to being married young. I have many friends who are married young and are very happily married and like have a romantic relationship. But having been able to be single for a long amount of time has afforded me an awesome life, a life for me to do things, but also I've had to actively seek ways to make connections. And also it has taught me that romance, again, is not the only reason we are here to be on earth. Like, especially growing up in a very religious environment where marriage was, I'd say many were pressured to be married young. That was a lot of grief and guilt that happened because I did not have a romantic relationship. So I did feel like a failure. And that's a whole nother thing, but I don't really want to get into it. But basically, I did think for a long time my only purpose was to be in a romantic relationship, and then once I did that, I would be successful at life. And society still tells us this, I think, because especially in Western society, we come from very conservative ideas that a man and woman is the only right way to marry and all that stuff, which I don't agree with. You can see how it creates a lot of problems, and also how society continues to support romantic relationships as the number one most important relationship, which is really frustrating because as a single person, I had to pay for my house loan. They have what's called the singles tax. I have to buy gifts for the many weddings I've been to. And I'm not saying I'm not happy to do that, but if we add up the money, singles in general have to pay more just to live in the society, automatically. There are couples discounts for trips. There are many places in society where we just see this idea that you are not complete until you found the one. And this is a false idea, because if we are enough just as we are, then having someone else to complete us like doesn't make sense. Like, you are a complete and whole person and entity, and your wants and needs are important, as they should be. And you can be happy without someone. The minute you give your happiness to someone else, that is when problems happen. And we're going to get into that a little bit more later. Okay, this is from Thrive Solo with Lucy Megson, and I just encourage you to check out the show notes because her stuff is great. She talks about this all the time, and I'm really enjoying it. And I just loved it so much I wanted to share it with you. But she gives us some ideas on ways we can decenter romantic relationships. So, number 1, stop making romantic life the main storyline of your life. A romance can be wonderful, but it is not the sole purpose of your life. Your life has to become bigger than waiting to be chosen. Ooh, I love this. Your life has to become bigger than waiting to be chosen. And growing up in a religious environment where I was taught that my sole purpose was one day to become a wife and mother, which I still want to do, but I've had to like let go of so much pain that like purpose has caused, because when that did not happen for me, I felt like a failure. So I had to recognize that being a wife and mother is just one facet of something that I can be. And even though I am not a mother, I can still be mothering. I still feel like I do mother a lot. As an auntie, I love being an aunt. I have 2 nieces and a nephew, and I just love them so much. And so I loved the opportunity I've had to share my love and knowledge with them and nurture them. And that has been a huge purpose of my life, being able to, I guess, mother in the ways I can. Because, like, to me, in my mind, a romantic relationship automatically comes with becoming a parent. Because growing up, that's what I saw in my religious environment, was that, like, okay, you get married and then you have kids. So that's why I'm equating this to motherhood in a way. But I had to find out, like, what happens if I don't ever find a romantic relationship and I don't become a mother, which I would truly love to be at one point, but I don't want to do that alone. And so I am happily waiting. Well, am I really waiting? I don't know. I haven't really sought out a romantic relationship, but I have not made it the main storyline of my life. And it has brought me so much joy, especially like when I started my worth journey. I felt like that piece of like, you're a failure because you didn't find a husband and have kids, especially letting go of that shame and learning to enjoy the things that I love and that I want to do, and focusing on the many awesome things that I have done and that I get to do and can do. Like, I can travel kind of whenever I want. I don't have to ask somebody or include somebody if I don't want to. I can just buy whatever I want whenever I want. I don't have to have that secondary decision maker because it's not going to affect them because I am single. But also, I know that a romance can be wonderful. And I look forward to that one day. But until then, I am happily and actively pursuing things that make me happy and that bring me joy. I'm the only person I have to please. And it's freaking awesome. I'm not waiting to be chosen. I'm like actively pursuing the things I want to, because there will come a day where I'm going to grieve this life. Oh, why am I getting emotional about it? That once I find the one and, you know, change my lifestyle to include a romantic partner, then I will grieve all this time I had to focus on me and pursue the things that I want to do and to make my dreams come true. So I think that's part of the reason it hasn't happened yet, because I'm like, there's too many things I want to do for myself selfishly. So I just don't have time to like look for a partner, let alone have the energy to like put into that relationship. So like my life has become bigger than waiting to be chosen, and I'm so grateful for that. Okay, number 2, diversify where you get love and connection from. When romantic relationships are the only place you get emotional fulfillment from, they carry too much weight. What happens if you suddenly lose your one source of love? That is why you need other relationships to thrive. Family, friends, community are all sources you can find love and connection. I've seen this happen a million times where it's so interesting because, again, in the church I grew up, I would make a set of married friends. They would all get married, and then I genuinely would never see them again, which is wild. I think it's specific to like the Mormon church that this happens. I don't know. You tell me. But it just it's like this unwritten rule that like if you get married, you can no longer hang out with single people. It's so weird. They have a group of young single adults. They have huge activities, and I love that about the church, that they're great at putting these singles together. But at the same time, it can be very exclusive because there's all of a sudden this immediate divide of like, oh, married? Nope, you can't come to YSA activities anymore because you're not single and you're not looking for someone. Which kind of makes sense, but like all the time, like what if it's volleyball and I want to go play volleyball, but I happen to get married? Like I don't belong at the YSA activity. Like it's so interesting. So yeah, I've had like kind of every 2 years would have to remake a set of good friends because they all got married and just like disappeared. But that wasn't always the case. Like I still hang out with like some people that did get married. My first set of married friends, as you've heard many times, I just call them my married friends because they were the first ones to get married. And we were all like in our early 20s when they got married. I still hang out with them when we can. And like, yeah, there are other friends that I have that I still hang out with even though they got married, and they're important to me. But the way that the cutoff that was wild to me. Maybe I'm biased, but like girls would literally just like disappear off planet Earth when they got a boyfriend, and like be like, hey, you want to come hang out with us still? To be like, no, I'm with my boyfriend. Like every single night, like you can't have 3 hours to come hang with us to do something. Like, and honestly, I think this can be a detriment to the romantic relationship that you have, that if you are expecting your partner, your romantic love, to be absolutely everything for you, like your confidant, the one who goes to yoga with you now, the one who you grocery shop with and do all the chores with, like those make sense to me, especially if you're living together. But like, I don't know, women, scientifically, it's been proven that women need other women friends in order to be happy and to thrive. Because there are just some things you can't talk about your boys with. Like, you think they're going to sit there and watch Off Campus with you? Like, maybe if you're lucky, but they might not like it. Like, it's okay to have different interests. You don't have to do absolutely everything with your partner. Like, what if your partner loves sports and you absolutely hate sports? Does that mean you shouldn't have a romantic partner? No, it just means that he can go with his friends to do his sports stuff, and you can go with your friends to do your stuff. And then also finding different places where you can socialize and connect is very important, I think, for both of you to make your romance strong, but also to bring the best out, because sometimes your partner's going to piss you off, so you're going to need someone to complain to. That's what your best friend is for. Your family, if you live close to your family, like you can just go hang out with them and get your love and connection there. Like you need at least 2 to 5 strong relationships. I would call them significant others, like key people in your life, in order for you to be the most successful and the most happy. Because we need connection. As I've said many times, we are interdependent people. We need it. We need others to be happy. We can't do it alone. So having that community, getting out there, even if you are raising kids, and I know that can be hard in itself. Like you love your kids, but then you kind of lose yourself a little bit. I've heard that a lot too. So I hope that you try and find balance within your community. I have a friend who, which I thought was so cool, she joined a running club, and even though she has kids, she made time for her running club, and that was for her and for her happiness. So I love that she did that. So you can do little things to connect with others and to create a community wherever that is, so that you can have several sources of love when one of those is busy. I think romantic relationships offer something that singledom doesn't have, and that's like the person you turn to first. It can be different for me because I'm single, depending on the situation, what I need. Like, let's say if my car breaks down and I need help, like I'm calling my parents. Or if I'm freaking out mentally, I'm calling my best friend. If I need a hug, I'm calling, one of my friends who's really good at giving hugs. Like, I just kind of had to figure out who is available, and like, there's so many people I know who I could ask, which I'm super grateful for. But romantic partner, yes, it would be easier to be like, hey, I had a bad day, and I can just like, they're there with me. So, pros and cons, but I think it's important, even when you're in a romantic relationship, to have different places of connection. So if you forget that you're loved, you are always loved because you're surrounded by it. There are many people you can get love and connection from. Okay, number 3, stop giving others the power to determine your worth. You cannot control if someone likes you or if they're going to text you back. What someone else does not affect your worth, so why are you letting it? It's so important to remember that you are worthy no matter what. So, like, if they happen to text you back, then bonus. And if they don't, you are still the amazing, wonderful person that you have always been. So if we are focusing on romantic love and pursuits, which there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're trying to decenter it and that type of attention, then try not to derive your worth from external validation. It needs to come from within. It's going to make your every single relationship better when your worth comes from within. When you know that you are worthy and that you are just looking for people to add to your happiness. If they take away from it, they are not the people for you. Anybody who does that. If they do it on accident, they make a mistake, then that's what forgiveness is for. And then if they are able to make those changes to continue further in the relationship, because every relationship takes sacrifice and forgiveness. So if you want to keep your relationships, then those things are important. But recognize if you are giving them your worth, if you're like waking up and like, oh, did he text me? If he didn't and it just ruins your day, then that's a worth issue going on within yourself and not within the relationship, because it has to come from you. Your worth has to come from you. You have to know, you have to trust that you are enough. And I promise you that when you do that, it's going to be easier to decenter romance, if that's something you're specifically trying to do, which is what we're talking about anyways. So if you're struggling with your own worth and connecting with yourself, then just remind yourself like, hey, I'm a star. Hey, I'm beautiful. I'm gorgeous. If they don't want what I have, then they are not worth my time. So recognize others who recognize your worth too. But do not give your time to those who are not recognizing your worth. Okay? Number 4, build a life that you do not need rescuing from. So this harkens back to the Disney days when Cinderella got rescued from a life of abuse by a prince. All she had to do was marry that prince and her life was now happy. And yes, while sometimes we do need help getting out of a situation, marriage getting out of that situation is not the answer. So if you are creating a life that you don't need rescuing from, you need to create a life that you absolutely love. One that you don't need rescuing from, one that you are excited to live, that you are happy to do. So that means setting goals, making your dreams come true. That means doing what you actually want to do and having fun and experiencing joy in your life, so that you don't feel like someone needs to save you from it. That you're not just like, if only someone could get me out of here. No, I'm thinking, if only someone could add to my happiness, then I will accept them into my life. Does that make sense? So yeah, create joy, peace, and meaning now. Not until you meet someone. Just do it now. And you can be happy now. You don't have to wait for happiness. It can be here already. And then the last one, number 5, spend less time fantasizing about romantic relationships. Rom-coms ruined me for this, but I would fantasize about them all the time and just be stuck in this thinking of like, I'm incomplete without my other half. I'm not incomplete. So focus on your goals, what you want to do. Focus on your finances. I think about this a lot, like how I want to be financially independent before I meet someone. Like that's kind of a goal of mine. Like I'm too busy to be dating because I'm trying to make my freaking dreams come true. So I don't have time to fantasize about romance because I'm fantasizing about my dream life, about going to New Zealand, about making this podcast my actual job, about launching my kind of clothing line, like just the merch store. But I'm focused on maybe one day becoming an audiobook narrator. Like I have all these dreams and I have all this time to make it happen. So why not? So you are what you think. You become what you think. So if you focus on fantasizing about when I have my lover, or like when I'm no. Stick in the here and now. I'm doing this. I'm doing amazing things now. I'm present. I'm focused on all of the amazing things that I already am doing and contributing. I'm focusing on all the love that's happening around me already. And if you are already in a romantic relationship, I genuinely believe like time for your dreams and your goals will strengthen your relationship already, because you need to be two individuals. I see lots of people get lost in relationships. They lose themselves. They're like, I don't know who I am anymore. And I think when you get back to doing the things that you love doing individually, they can come back and share their experiences that they had with their friends and other relationships. And it makes them stronger because they're caring about each other, and they also each are building their own dreams and their happiness together and sharing all the things that they got to do apart and together. So does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Anyways, I'm rambling again. This is already way too long. Okay, so those are 5 things you can do to decenter romantic relationships. I think it's important to remember your individuality, and I think it's important to remember what you bring to the table in a relationship, and also to remember that your sole purpose isn't to have romantic love, that your life can be so fulfilling just by having amazing friends, having an amazing community. Maybe you have pets. These are all different relationships. You are a daughter, you're a mother, you're a best friend, you're an auntie, you're a father, you're a brother, you're a son, you're an uncle. Like those are 4 relationships right there. There's so many ways you can find loving connection, and there's so many ways that you can be happy with or without romantic love. And I think the most important relationship that you have is the one with yourself. So if you focus on you and what's important to you, and also how you are worthy and how you are loved, then automatically your other relationships are going to strengthen when you know your worth. It's just something that automatically happens. When you know your worth, your other relationships are going to get better. So I hope this helps. Good luck in decentering romantic relationships if that's something you're really trying to do. And if you're not, I hope this maybe gave you some insights on things that might be helpful for all of your relationships. Okay. As always, you can find me at trustyourworth.com and on Instagram and TikTok at trustyourworthpodcast. If no one has told you today, your life can be so amazing you don't need rescuing from it, and you are enough just as you are. And don't forget to trust your worth. Okay, thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. Love you so much. Bye.